2024. What a year for music, am I right? Hello folks, and welcome back to a very special episode of Wheels of Mercury. It's the new year, and you know what that means. It's time for the 4th annual Golden Wheel Award, where since 2021, I have rounded up the best, worst, and Middest/mediocre albums and EPs of the year. Now, if you are new to Wheels of Mercury and you see this guy in a wheelchair talking about metal and other forms of music and you're like, wow, this guy in a wheelchair is reviewing music. Cool. Then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell for notifications, and let's get going with the 4th annual Golden Wheel Award. To start this off, let's just get the worst and most disappointing out of the way, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. The worst album of the year is DragonForce with Warp Speed Warriors. And wow, this came from a band that once upon a time was my gateway band to the whole metal genre. DragonForce was a band I loved when I was 13, 14 years old, and I loved them since I heard them on Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. Their speed blew my mind, and the vocals of the former vocalist Debbie Surt were awesome too, and it stuck out like a sore thumb in the power metal scene in a good way. Man, this new DragonForce album from 2024, Warp Speed Warriors, this is not it. I'm sorry. They're chasing that glory hammer money now. In between the bland rehashes of their old stuff, and I don't even know what to call it. Songs like Doomsday Party and Space Marine Corp, which I'll mention a little later. It's just insane that this is the band that created Through the Fire and Flames and Operation Ground and Pound. It's just sad that they managed to become this hokey, gimmicky band. You know why I'm not a fan of European power metal anymore? Releases like these. This was just so disappointing to see. From a band that I once held in very high regard as a preteen and a teenager back in the early 2010s. What a horrible album. What a horrible, inconsistent, cheesy, messy slop of an album. Next up, the worst song of the year. Now, I've got 2 runner-ups for this category. The first is from this red and anarchist black metal band from Greece called Yovel, and the song is called Scroll Post Like Die. And as you can guess from the song title, it's all about TikTok and algorithms and stuff like that. Like, I understand the concern, but I don't want this in my black metal music. Get it out of here, please and thank you. Next up is Space Marine Corp by DragonForce, which I alluded to earlier. That freaking, sea shanty part is still stuck in my head in a really bad way. The da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, please, DragonForce, why are you doing this? You used to do Through the Fire and Flames so well. Why are you catering to TikTok trends? Stop it! I got a little carried away, didn't I? Anyways, but the worst song of the year, by far, Feedback by A Day to Remember. This is coming from a guy who liked a couple songs off of the last album that a lot of people clowned on. Even I can't defend this. What is this? Is this some sort of puddle of mud style dreck? Jeremy McKinnon's vocals sound so processed and auto-tuned and awful. The freaking lyrics are just so much like a middle finger to their fan base. A Day to Remember can do a lot better than this, and disrespecting your fans like that through your lyrics is not the way to go. Alright, next up, the most disappointing album of the year. With the runners up here, starting with Sentry, with their self-titled album. For those of you who do not know, Sentry is a group consisting of former members of Manila Road that formed this band quite a few years after Mark Shelton from Manila Road passed away actually. And it featured Brian Harold Patrick on vocals and Noity on drums, who were part of the last known lineup of Manila Road. This album was disappointing more for the way it just got swallowed up by other releases. It's not the most horrible album in the world. It's not bad. It's just like after I re-listened to it a month or two ago, I was just like, it's a shame because I was really looking forward to the record, but it just, other records wowed me more. If you like it, more power to you. Next up is Gatecreeper with Dark Superstition, and this album had a lot of mixed reception. I saw a comment that said that this album reminded them of Modern Parkway Drive, and I can't freaking unhear it, man. It does sound like Modern Parkway Drive more than it sounds like a gritty melodic death metal record. Chase Garnett just does this scream with just like this! It's just like this the whole time! And it just gets so tiring. It just gets so grating on my nerves. It's just so bland. I don't know, it just doesn't really hit for me. If you like the album, all the more power to you. For me, it just didn't really do anything for me. It was kind of boring. Next up is another boring album, this time from Darkthrone. It Beckons Us All. Yeah, this was pretty comatose. I mean, to be fair though, it's the 22nd, like 23rd or 21st album or something like that. And when you're a band for that long, like Darkthrone have been around since the freaking 80s. And if you're a band for that long and you've been putting out that many albums, at least one of them is not gonna resonate with everybody. And that happened to be this one for me. So, I mean, if you like it, all the more power to you. It just felt comatose and sleepy. That's all I have to say about it. Next runner up is from one of my favorite bands ever, Bring Me the Horizon, with Post-Human Next Gen. Yeah, this was disappointing. Other than Kool-Aid, a song which I love, everything else just felt like rehashes of like legacy pop punk and nu metal bands like My Chemical Romance, Deftones, Sum 41, and others. It just felt bland and I never returned to it. It's a shame because, in my opinion, I think they're a step back now. With every album like Sempiternal, That's the Spirit, Armor, they were always a step forward. That's what I loved about Bring Me the Horizon in the first place. But it just feels like, after they lost Jordan Fish, it just feels like they've taken a step back, in my honest opinion. Again, I know some people love this album. All the more power to you. Just like all the albums on this list. But to me, yeah, it just was disappointing. Especially coming from one of my all-time favorite bands. But the most disappointing album of the year is the new album from the Louisiana-based metalcore band Cane Hill. Oh my God! After 6 long years, this band, which used to do nu metal and metalcore very well, like a mixture of Slipknot, Alice in Chains, and Korn that was freaking badass, had some guitar solos in it, and songs like Lord of Flies and stuff like that. It was so freaking badass at one point in time. Like, Too Far Gone, that song still rips, man. But it's just like this album over here called A Piece of Me I Never Let You Find. I don't normally say this because this is a term that Eli elitist types usually use. But it's a sellout record. It really is. Like, it sounds like a Bad Omens clone or partially like a Sleep Token clone. The style they're playing right here is so dime a dozen, and it does not fit Elijah's voice at all. It's such a shame. I know some people love this album, all the more power to ya, but like, oh my gosh, as an old school fan, all the stuff before COVID that they did was freaking awesome. And then, what a fall from grace this band has had. The Middest album of the year. An album that exists in like this sort of weird purgatory where it's neither good nor bad, it's just okay, I guess. I don't know. Kerry King from Hello Rise. Yeah, this is just bland microwave thrash metal. I gotta give it to Mark Arthur from Death Angel. He's carrying the album. He's trying to convince you that he's wrecked stuff up, you know? Like, that was a really good performance, but the words he's saying are typical edgy Kerry King bullcrap. And, you know, it's just try hard. It's just edgy. It's just boring. Next! Alright. Enough about Kerry King. Let's talk about some more exciting albums in the traditional heavy metal album of the year category. Starting with the Portuguese band Dolmen with their debut Gateways of Eternity. This is a cool blue-collar heavy metal album featuring former members of the band Ravenstyle. And yeah, if you like Manila Road and your blue-collar raw heavy metal with some great female vocals, give it a shot. It's pretty good. Next up is Black Sights with their album The Promised Land. I forgot about this band. It wasn't until I saw a promo email that I was reminded of their existence. And this is a freaking good album. It goes between Faith Warning style bangers of like progressive metal bangers to like Spirit Adrift style melodic metal / like Ozzy Osbourne solo material style stuff. It's good. Like, if you've never heard of this band, by the way, this band's from Chicago, Illinois, USA. But if you've never heard of this band, yeah, this wouldn't be a bad album to start. Last in the runners-up for this category is Triumpher with Spirit Invictus. This is the second album from this Greek traditional / American style power metal band, and they basically fill the void that Ice Earth, Manowar, and Immortal left behind. Yeah, great album. But for as great as those albums were, a titan of heavy metal itself came out with the best traditional heavy metal album of the year, and that is the mighty, the one and only Judas Priest with Invincible Shield. Come on. You know who Judas Priest are. If you don't know who Judas Priest are, you're probably living under a rock. Well, I mean, this album is so quality, like Giants in the Sky and Panic Attack. The riffs and the solos from Richie Faulkner and Glenn Tipton keep going and going and going. The drumming is awesome. They just have the youth and vigor of a band like 30 years younger than they are. Like, they are on their 50th year of the band and they still sound as fresh and invigorated as ever. And the metal god, Rob Halford, sounds amazing for his age. He's like 72, 73, and he still sounds freaking mind-blowing. He can still hit those notes. I am blown away by how good the Judas Priest album is. If I covered up the name of the album, I would still love this album, regardless. Because this is one of the best metal albums of the year. Even if it was done by a band lesser known than Judas Priest, if you didn't have Judas Priest on the album cover, I would still love it. This is fantastic. I know they are a legacy band, but this is how you do legacy band releases in the current era. Take note, Metallica, progressive metal / rock album of the year. First up in the runners-up for this category is Mothman and the Thunderbirds with their album Portal Hopper. Now, I didn't know where to put this album because it goes all over the place. Almost like a Devin Townsend project album. It goes from Black Gaze to Green Day, avant-garde Green Day sort of stuff, to like lime melon in one song. It just goes all over the place, but it's really fun. I heard about this album thanks to Metal Trenches. Shout out to Metal Trenches. It's just a fun album. This was the metal and rock album that I listened to the most all summer. It was just a fun listen. So if you like fun, varied, and dynamic, and just stuff like plain fun to listen to, also, and if you like cryptids like the Mothman and Bigfoot and all that, yeah, a fun listen, a fun listen. Next up is an album that subscribers to this channel will probably not be surprised to see here. I don't know if you can see it. Leprous, Melodies of Atonement. While the King is back. I'm not Stolberg, and he is as fantastic as ever. There are so many good songs on this album, like Silently Walking Alone, and How Can I Be Mistaken, and the scream on Like a Sunken Ship. There's so many other good moments of a Leprous album that I can say about this new one. Leprous put out another great album. The winner for the Progressive Metal Album of the Year is Bedsore with Dreaming the Strife for Love. This is an extreme progressive metal album, not unlike another extreme progressive metal album I'll be talking about later, but this is also different from that one, in that it's like Enslaved meets King Crimson, but like Enslaved again, but like meets Yes, meets Gentle Giant. It's got so many organ flourishes and everything. Oh, yeah, and the band's from Italy, too. These guys are becoming one of my favorite bands in extreme metal at the moment. I love their last album, Hypnagogic Hallucinations, which is an entirely different, more death metal approach. And this album was a dynamic, progressive, extreme metal approach with all the organ solos and the synths and all the dynamic swells and everything. It's just fantastic. And I have to say that I actually listened to this one more than another certain progressive extreme metal album I'll be talking about as well. Stay tuned for that. Alright, thrash metal, thrash metal, thrash metal. Mayhemic was the debut album. Toba, Chilean thrash metal was on a tear this year, man. Toba was an excellent album. Think of like Pleasure to Kill by Creator, but faster and meaner and more aggressive. The thing goes at warp speed, man. It's got a killer mid-paced instrumental in the middle too. Another very super fast thrash metal album is Oxygen Destroyer with Guardian of the Universe. If you like super fast death thrash and you love kaiju, like giant monsters like Godzilla or Gamera, yeah, check it out. It's awesome. Last runner-up is Deceased, Children at the Morgue. An amazing album from a band that just doesn't really miss, man. They are so underrated. I can't really understand why metalheads don't flock to this band more, because they got all the ingredients to make a great metal band. They've got the storytelling, they've got the melodic Iron Maiden solos, they got the aggression of a band like Bolt Thrower or Obituary, and they've got the sort of off-kilterness of a band like Voivod. And King Fowler just has his own unique spin. I really want to see them when they come on tour with Coroner. Hope that gets to happen. That would be awesome if I would see that band live. But my winner for the thrash metal album of the year is Breedhammer with Godslayer. And in one fell swoop, this also wins my album cover of the year, because look at that dragon. Oh my god, it's epic, isn't it? Yeah, this band is a solo project of a guitarist. I forget the name of. I'll have it down here, down below me. But like, he's from Norway. And this also features Dominator from Dark Funeral on drums, who is an absolute beast on drums. This Godslayer album has so many good riffs. Oh my god, I just do the stank face for a lot of these riffs. It's like a mixture of Orbit Culture, thrash metal, Pantera, Lamb of God. This is an awesome slice of thrash and groove metal. It's highly, highly, highly recommended. Alright. Let's get Slow was the Doom Sludge Metal Album of the Year. Quip Sermon was the Stygian Rose for this first runner-up. I gotta admit, this was a grower on me. The first time I heard it, back when it came out, I was like, it's alright. It took a couple other tries for it to fully click with me, but when it did, whoa, it really did. This is some awesome Candlemass style doom metal. Next up is another epic doom metal record from Scald with their album Ancient Doom Metal. This band is from Russia, and this is their first album in 27 years after the death of their singer Ago. In his place is Carpilla Oriente singer Felipe, and I forget his last name, but he does a great job in the filling in those humongous shoes that Ago did back in the day on the debut album Will of God is a Great Power. Felipe holds his own and got a unique voice. So if you like the Quip Sermon album, you might like the Scald album too. The last runner-up is a very unique take on funeral doom metal, and that is Odd with the weird Atlantic D thing at the end. Untouched by Fire. Now this is a side project of Mark Deek, the keyboardist of the black metal band Winter Violet. And I like this more than Winter Violet. I was never a big Winter Violet fan. I always thought they were pretty boring. But this is cool. It's like monk chant doom metal, funeral doom metal, but without the growl. I don't personally like funeral doom metal with growls. I think it's kind of boring, but I like this. It's beautiful. Yeah, if you want a fresh take on funeral doom metal, yeah, check this Art album out. It's fantastic. There is a debate as to whether the winner of this category is a sludge metal band or a noise rock band. They're metal enough for me, so they count as sludge metal. That being said, Chop Pile, Cool World, I Am Dog Now have been stuck in my head for months. If you don't know who Chop Pile is, they are basically like Acid Bath or Crowbar, but like funded by a mentally insane dude. This guy is like ranting and raving about the state of the world, and you're just kind of transfixed like, whoa, you okay, buddy? Yeah, it just got that vibe, just captivating all the way through. I really like the song Mask, M-A-S-C, which has a kind of Nirvana Smashing Pumpkins vibe. I don't usually like Nirvana or Smashing Pumpkins, but I like their take on it. And I like the sort of like Korn sort of influence in the songs as well. I think either the bassist or the guitarist is a big fan of Korn. So to hear that in the music is really cool. If you like misanthropic, dirty sludge metal and noise rock, this Chop Pile album, it should be right up your alley. Metalcore album of the year. And I gotta admit, for a genre I grew up with, metalcore, like deathcore, metalcore, they weren't really my most listened to genres this year. I don't know, I just wasn't as tapped into metalcore and deathcore. But for metalcore, I did find 3 albums that are really good, and one of them, which is the winner of course, starting with his first runner-up, Boundaries. Death is little more. Basically take Counterpart and like a bit of old school Howard Jones kill switch engage into that point, and you get this album. It is angry, it is pissed off, it is just ready to be the soundtrack to your next gym session. Good stuff. Next up is an album with an album cover that, you know, if you've seen it, you know how much it will stick with you. And that is 156 Silence with People Watching. Man, this is a great album. This is probably the best scene-adjacent metalcore album. I'm saying that because the screams are very Warped Tour-esque, and also it has a feature from Craig Owens of Drugs, like D-R-E-G-S, and Chiodos, of course. Yeah, it's a great kind of dark album. I will forever remember waiting in the parking lot to see Korn this summer in Toronto and listening to this album. So thank you for 156 Silence for having this album be the soundtrack for a memory. My metalcore album of the year is pretty predictable. And it's absolutely embarrassing how much they smoked the competition this year in metalcore, let's be honest. Knock loose. You won't go before you're supposed to. I mean, what else is there to say about this album that hasn't already been said by YouTubers like Nick Nocturnal and Metal Boob and YouTubers like that, man? This is just punishing. Like the Boundaries record, this is the soundtrack to your next gym session, and it's just, it's so pissed off. I love Brian Garris's vocals, his Mickey Mouse screams, his like SpongeBob SquarePants screams, you know what I mean? The music is very, very heavy, very down-tuned, but his screams act in the same way that the piccolo snare in like brutal death metal and slam brutal death metal works. It's like the high contrasted with the low, and it's so freaking aggressive and just badass, and it's so good. And the fact that Jimmy Kimmel put them on actually doesn't surprise me as much as it surprised other people, because let's face it, Jimmy Kimmel is actually a big fan of metal. You know, he's had Slipknot on his show before. He's had Acting Alexandria when they were a much heavier band back in 2011. Anyways, going back to this Knock Loose album, yeah, this is absolutely punishing. Even if you're not a metalcore fan, you'll probably get some mileage out of it. Check it out. Deathcore album of the year. Now this is a genre I don't listen to as much as metalcore, but I still found a couple of releases worth talking about. First, the runner-up, Assemble the Chariots with Unyielding Night. And what I like about this album is that it doesn't pad the album with breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. See, when metalcore bands do it, I don't mind. But when deathcore bands do it, they just go way too all over the place with like the animal there. You know, the Lorna Shore effect. Assemble the Chariot doesn't do this. It's epic symphonic deathcore, but without all the unnecessary breakdowns. The one thing that pulls it back for me wanting to re-listen to it, the narration. That reminds me a lot of the black metal band Balsagar. Every time I try to replay it, the narration just turns me off entirely. Which is too bad, because the album is really good. But my deathcore album of the year is Fit for an Autopsy with The Nothing That Is. This is a very smartly written deathcore album. Barely is a deathcore album, really. It's like more like Gojira meets Agale Dying sort of thing. It's really well written. It's really well done. The breakdowns hit really hard. Joe Bad is a really good screamer, and yeah, it's just a good deathcore album all around. Check it out. Alright, so you'll probably know this. For those who are already subscribers of the channel or watchers of the channel and have seen a certain elitist around and wondering why the heck is he not here to bug me about sketchy black metal, well, I had him do a job. See, there is this genre called war metal, which is like this grindcore infused version of like black and death metal. And I thought it would be fun if the elitist guy would present this award. So without further ado, let us welcome to the 4th annual Golden Wheel Award, presenting the War Metal Album of the Year, Mr. Eli Elitis. Eli! Hey, I'm Eli Elitis, and this is the best War Metal albums of the year. Wheels wanted me to listen to all of these albums and critique them, so here we go. Concrete Wind with their self-titled album, Concrete Wind. Wow, this is 25 minutes of brutality and just sledgehammer brutality. It's just like, it's real metal. But, you know, it's got some beat boop crap that I'm not really into in the second half. I don't know, I don't like that beat boop crap. Beat boop industrial crap, not my thing. So maybe it's a little bit false metal? I don't know. Next up is my personal favorite, Primitive Warfare with Extinction Protocol. Now this is some real metal for real men. This is so Justice! I haven't had an album make me feel like this since Martyr, Panzer Division Martyr. This is war metal with the war in capitals, bolded, underlined once, twice, third time, and it just vicious. Yeah, if you want some war metal that channels the spirit of blasphemy, revenge, conqueror, and others, check this out. It's awesome. Next up is Black Curse with Burning and Celestial Poison. Now, I have my doubts coming into this record, as it has a lot of posers in this band. What the heck? Some posers in this band from Blood Incantation, Wayfarer? Why is this poser band in my list, I thought? Well, it turns out, these hipsters, they can make good black and death metal. I'm not sure why this is in the War Metal Album of the Year list. It's alright. Wills likes it more than I do. And the winner of this War Metal Album of the Year list, according to Mr. Mercury, this is his opinion, not mine. I didn't like it as much as he did, but Antichrist Siege Machine Revengeance of Eternal Fire. It's alright. I mean, Blasphemy did it better back in 1990 or 91. Somewhere around there. Yeah, they did it better with Fallen Angel of Doom or Fallen Angel of Death, whatever you call it. They did it better than Antichrist Siege Machine in my honest opinion. You know, it's okay. Eli Editus, out! Yeah, he can be annoying sometimes, can he? Let's continue with this. Death Metal Album of the Year. First up, in the runner-up is Necron with Lifeless Birth. If you just want some death metal, not death thrash, not technical death metal, not brutal death metal, just good old-fashioned bolt thrower, obituary style death metal, the Necron got your back. I mean, Drill the Skull is such a freaking banger, man. They just make some catchy bangers. So, yeah, Necron. Good album. Next up is my dissonant death metal pick with Convulsing with his album Pedurin. You notice that I said his, well, this is just a one-man project. I've been following his work since 2019, and this might be his best album yet. It also has a cool porcupine tree cover at the end where he actually shows off his pipes as a singer, and it's actually really freaking good. Next up is Job for a Cowboy, a band that was one of my very first death metal bands ever, with their comeback album Moon Healer. And the bass on this album is just incredible. I'm not gonna waste any more time on Moon Healer because so many other YouTubers have talked a lot about how this album is really good. So yeah, if you like Sun Eater, you'll love Moon Healer. Now this last runner-up could have been my death metal album of the year, if not for one other. And that is the Finnish band Divenial Verdict with Blessing of Despair. The riffs, man. The riffs. Oh my goodness. The riffs and the close, creepy sections. It's awesome Morbid Angel worship. It just keeps its sonic palette fresh over 50 minutes. And it's just awesome. And this would have been my death metal album of the year just based on the riffs and atmosphere alone. But I have a confession to make. Yes, I jumped on the Blood Incantation hype train. At first, I didn't think the album was all that great. Now, before you put up your pitchfork, it took a couple of listens for me to get into the album. As of the time I'm filming this, I just listened to the album this morning for the fourth time, and it has really revealed itself to me. Everybody's been saying how much it is inspired by Pink Floyd and Morbid Angel, and that's true as well. But there is another lesser known band that I hear too with the riffs and the major chord parts, and that is Lycathia Aflame, a little known band from Czech Republic or Czechia that had like this cult classic death metal album called Elven Free. back in 2000. Some of the major key parts in this new Blood Incantation album remind me of that record. There are so many great moments in this, like the bongo solos, the Pink Floyd parts that remind a lot of people of Dark Side of the Moon, Tangerine Dream features, the ambient stuff. It's just wonderful. And while it's not my album of the year, I can understand why this made so many people's top album of the year list and why it has been #1 for so many metal fans out there. Good job, Blood Incantation. Well done. Next up is the genre I listen to the most this year, and the genre I am currently in love with, black metal. The runners-up list is pretty long, so I'll just speed through it. Alright, Iger, an amazing album. Inconsensus Lux Lucius, Temple Colliding in Fire, an amazing Iron Maiden style black metal record. Skygirls, Chariots Unblazing, amazing chamber folk sort of strings and horns and stuff that makes this a beautiful atmospheric listen. Conifer, L'Impôt du Sang, an amazing Quebecois melodic black metal record, and Gaia with their album Coma, which is the shirt I'm wearing right here. Gaia, yeah, they're a great band. However, my black metal album of the year is Dozrit with Nocturnal Will. This is all based on the guitar shredding and the guitar harmony. The lead harmonies on this album are incredible. Dozrit made the transition from a crust punk / black metal hybrid to a melodic black metal band so well. And so many of the guitar harmonies are stuck in my head. From like back in March when this album was released till now, it's that good, man. Short release of the year. There can be EPs, demos, splits, and stuff like that. Daedric's Shrine was the self-titled EP. A great EP that flows together as one epic traditional heavy metal song. Agriculture with Living is Easy. Another great EP that is like experimental Death Heaven liturgy kind of stuff with like spoken word poetry and like singing and like pedal steel. And finally, the Mexican band Phantom with their album Transylvania Nightmare. Some killer black and thrash from Guadalajara, Mexico. But my short release of the year is Ryzen Hilt with Ancient Sword Cult. This is such a catchy ass EP. This is like raw Middle Road / Eternal Champion style traditional heavy metal. And I just got these songs stuck in my head, man. I just got these songs stuck in my head like it's so catchy. It's so catchy. I don't know the lyrics, but I know the notes he sings. But this is just such a catchy, epic heavy metal album full of heart and passion. If you love your raw heavy metal, you'd be remiss to check this out. Just amazing debut from a very promising traditional heavy metal band. Alright, speeding along here because my voice is getting hoarse. Non-metal album of the year. The runners-up is Clairo with her album Charm, a very chill singer-songwriter record with a lot of 70s soul influence. MGMT with Loss of Life, a great album from this veteran band. The Last Dinner Party was their debut album, Prelude to Ecstasy. Such a good album. So many good songs on that record. That band had a feature. But the non-metal album of the year for me came out on November 1st. And that is the legendary goth rock band The Cure with their album Songs of a Lost World. There are so many songs that are just songs of the year candidates for non-metal, for rock, really. Everything from the harmonium-inspired war song to end song. So many good songs on this album. And Robert Smith doesn't sound like his age. Like he sounds exactly the way he does in the 80s, which is unreal. It's like Rob Halford. Like, same thing with Robert Smith, man. Like, he sounds exactly like he did back in the day. It's unreal. Metal album of the year is, for the very first time, going to go to an album that is not in English. It's in German. That'll go to Kananenfieber with Die Katastrophe. German speakers, tell me in the comments if I got that album name right. Please and thank you. Anyways, this is a World War I themed metal album that is a mixture of 1914 and the catchiness of a band like Amon Amarth. Melodic blackened death metal that even if you don't know German, you will be singing these songs, guaranteed. Don't worry, the band is not fascist at all. This band aims to educate people about the horrors of World War I, like shell shock and stuff like that. And it does a very good job of doing that through catchy anthemic songs and sounds of planes flying overhead and bombs and guns and horrible atrocities of the Great War back in the 1910s. Kananenfieber come a long way from starting this project back in 2021. This is just a new height for the band, and I could not be happier. The non-metal song of the year. The runner-up is a song that sadly hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but I think I know why. But I love it anyway. James Blake, Like the End. The lyrics are just so indicative of where everything is heading in the future that it really chills me to the bone. But I think the reason why it's not getting as much attention is that, number one, it's basically a Radiohead ballad, and I think people are sick of Radiohead ballads. I'm not. And number two, the AI music video, which I will not link down in the description because I don't like bands making AI music videos if they can properly do it. It's different if you're like a small time band and you've got no budget. If you're an artist like James Blake, there's no excuse to be using AI for your music video. Cut it out. I'm going to link the live performance he did of the song instead. I believe that's where the song truly shines. But my non-metal song of the year is The Cure with End Song. That lyric, I've been wandering in the dark, wondering how I got so old, has been haunting me. It's inspired by Robert Smith looking up at the stars and realizing he hasn't got much time left in his life. Yeah, it's just a song about growing old and stuff, and it's 10 minutes long, but it's done so well. And it closes out the album. A fantastic song by The Cure, and one that I don't think Cure fans will forget about for ages to come. Another first for metal for this year's Golden Wheel Awards here on Wheels of Mercury is that both the runner-up and the winner are not in English. Starting with the runner-up, Psychonaut 4, Why Me? Now, this is in the language of Georgian, since this band is from the country of Georgia. You can hear the lead singer grasp desperation in this 7-minute song, even without knowing a lick of what he's talking about. It's just amazing. And the guitar solos in it, so good. When he starts harmonizing, I get full body chills from that. One of the best metal songs of the year, and a highlight for me in terms of depressive black metal. If you haven't heard the song, check it out. It's amazing. But for as amazing as that song is, the metal song of the year goes to Pound the Hunker by Kananenfieber. And don't worry, Pound the Hunker translates to Tank Slayer in English. It's just that riff that starts it. Like, how could you not get pumped up to that? If that riff doesn't hype you up, you're probably kinda dead inside, I'm sorry. Oh, the song is so hype, even if I don't understand what he's saying, because it's in German. Everything in it is just so well done. And I could have picked any song off of this new Kananenfieber record. That simple riff right there, it just hooks me in, man. That's it for the 4th annual Golden Wheel Awards. I know this was a very long video, longer than the usual videos I've done over the past few months. Rock on, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.